Hello everyone, this is Patrick at Pontum Software, and right now we would like to explore adding a voucher to the Pontum Accounts Payable program for payment. We will look at how to pay a bill using a check as well as recording an electronic payment. For starters, we're going to go to our primary task box in the upper left corner and select Manage Vouchers. Once the workspace comes up, we would like to click the New button to start a new voucher. Once on the new screen here, we want to select a vendor to pay. I can select one from the drop-down menu, or I can simply start typing my vendor's name. We're going to use United States Treasury for our voucher this time, since everyone has to pay their taxes to them. The next is going to be a vendor's reference number. This field is for the invoice number or bill number, or if you're doing an electronic payment, this would be the confirmation number you received saying that the payment was accepted. So I'll simply type in a number here. The voucher total is going to be the total dollar amount to be sent for the payment or for the invoice. Next field is our voucher date, and I'm using the Tab key to go between the fields, but you can use the mouse as well to go between the fields. I'm going to select my voucher date. This is going to be the invoice date or the bill date or the day of the end of the payroll. In this case, we're going to say our payroll ended on November 10th. The next field here is our transaction date. The transaction date is the date this will be recorded in the general ledger if we are using the accrual method for our accounts payable preference setting. If you are using the cash method, this will be inactive and you do not need to worry about this field. The batch date is the date that I want to be reminded to cut the check, or the date that I submitted my electronic payment. In this case, because this is an electronic payment we're going to do, I'm going to select the 15th, which is the day I turned my payment in. The next field here is the bank account code. This allows me to select which bank the bill will be paid from, or the electronic transfer came out of. The next field here is a description, and this will be our payroll tax withholding. The discount date field and amount are for those vendors that offer you a discount terms if you pay within a certain number of days. The review code is an optional field which allows you to group different vouchers together so that they can be reported on as a group rather than by a specific vendor or a specific account number. The separate check field here allows me to designate that this one voucher needs to have a check all by itself. If I leave this as no, which is the default, the system will group all of the checks or all of the bills for the United States Treasury together onto one check when I go to create the check. This is helpful when you're doing your utility bills or if you have multiple bills to the same vendor. The next one here allows me to include this on a 1099 for a particular vendor, or it can be excluded. In this case, we do not send a 1099 to the Treasury, so it is excluded. Now, one thing we are going to change here is this says that this vendor, the United States Treasury, is eligible for an e-payment. And in this case, we do want to select an e-check, because we're going to pay this one electronically. Now, I have some other vouchers in here, and we'll take a look at them, that we do simply a check. And we will create a paper check, and I will show you how to do that here in just a moment. The next field we come down to here is our account grid. And when I click down here, I am giving a list of all of my account numbers from which I can select. Now I can use my mouse and travel down here, or I can again use my keyboard and begin typing in the numbers. In this case, we're doing our 229 due to the federal government. The amount is automatically filled in, but if I want to spread this between multiple accounts, I would type in the amount for this particular account, and then I could move down to the next line and add another account number here. I also have an additional memo field here where I can make a note about this specific line or the amount in this specific account number. When I hit the tab key there on my keyboard, I jump down and I can again select another number, or I can simply continue going on across and the system recognizes that I just want one line. At this point now I can come to the bottom and I can click on this process button, which will finish out this particular payment. When we do a paper check, this button will say save, in which case then you can go on to the next voucher and keep creating the vouchers as needed until you're ready to print your checks. So we're going to click the process button and a new confirmation window comes up here. Again, I want to come up here and I want to select the date that I actually made the payment to the government. In this case for me it was the 15th, so I select November 15th. I select the bank account and it tells me the next check number that I'm going to use. Now in this case, because this is the first one for my township, I'm going to start with the number 0. But this will increment up automatically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so that you can keep track of which electronic transaction this is. And we can print out an advice after this is done that indicates which electronic check number this was. I'm all ready to go here, so I'm going to hit the Prepare Create Checks. And it is just that simple. I have now recorded my payment to the United States Treasury. And it is complete. And I can now have that on my check register report. And like I said, I can print out a paper advice that looks kind of like a check that I can put with my documents for filing. I've switched back to my list view here so that we can see the two paper checks that I have created here. I'm going to click on one here so we can see it really quick. We have our consumer's energy, our vendor's reference number, our invoice number. We have our total, the date we want it recorded in the general ledger, and then we have our batch date. This again is when I want to be reminded that I'm going to cut the check. Not necessarily the due date, but just when I need to know that I need to print this so I can send this out. We notice that our payment type here says check. And our button down here at the bottom, we don't need to click it, but it does say save instead of process. Once we have our vouchers ready to go here, and we are ready to print our checks, we come over here to our primary task box, and we go to Process Payments. The screen now gives me a list of all of the bills that I want to pay, or the invoices that I want to pay, as of the 17th. It looks at the batch date here to determine which ones to display. At this point, we just have two bills we need to pay, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and while today is the 17th, I'm not actually going to print these out or have these signed until tomorrow, the 18th. So I'm going to change my check date to the 18th. At this point, I'm ready to click my Prepare Checks. I am giving a confirmation number saying which bank is going to write the check, and I'm also prompted with the first blank check number that I have to create the check on. So I'm going to write the check 3513 from Talmer Bank and check 2762 from the PNC Bank. Now if I need to change those numbers, I have a button here that allows me to change the check number. Those are the correct numbers that I need to use, so I'm going to click my Prepare Create Checks. The system now gives me those two checks listed above with the appropriate check numbers. Now I'm ready to print them, and I can print them out on my paper, so I come down here and I select Print Checks. It warns me or prompts me to insert the checks For the general, specifically insert check number 2762. So I'll put that in my printer, and then I click my OK button. Once that's done, you can see the screen preview here of what will print on the paper. And I can simply come up here to my printer icon at the top left, indicate the printer that I would like to print on, and click my OK button. Now I don't have any check stock to print on, so I'm going to click Cancel. And when I'm done, I simply hit the Close button up here at the top. And I'm prompted now for my next bank, Talmer Bank. And I'm going to actually cancel this one because, again, I don't have the check stock, but it goes through the same process there. And at that time, these checks will disappear as having been printed. And those are the steps taken to create and enter a bill that needs to be paid. And you can either pay it with an electronic payment, recording that you've made an electronic payment, or you can create a paper check. And it's just that simple. If you have any questions, you can check our website for our help center, or you can call us at 888-237-8531. Thank you very much and have a great day.